Distance learning, I too just flicked through the pack today and saw Anita Wilson's booklet on goodwill and good fortune, and realised that is often how distance learning is delivered in a prison. Goodwill and good fortune by tutors saying, I'll develop your need, particularly the level 2 plus, the higher ed. The pessimistic teacher says, it's not in OLAS, distant learning, no, it's not part of my remit, leave it to the Prison Education Trust, leave it to the Open University. But it is in our OLAS remit. We have got to look at level 2 and above, and we have to work with the OU and PET and make sure that our learners do get the distance learning that they deserve. And the advent of e-learning has made quite a difference. I understand that all the new prisons that are being built with technology in cells so that we can expand that remit for distance learning. Mental health and well-being, Tom touched on, and I was impressed by the recent report that the Prison Education Trust, Prison Reform Trust, with Jenny Talbot did on No One Knows. And their study showed that 20 to 30% of offenders in the study in prison had LDD difficulties, learning disability difficulties, and were unable to cope with the prison system while they were in there. So what chance have we, if they've got such issues, of just walking in without taking that holistic approach? So I think it's very important that we take note of the research done. We have strategies to deal with such mental health and well-being issues. The positive identity that Tom relates to, in the full report, I found it extremely powerful, the description of the young people in the young people's estate who had no identity at all, and you touched on that, no number, no identity, and the work that we can do on their positive identity, on the one-to-one basis, to make them have a feeling of belonging, be it in custody, it is an identity. And in my nervousness, I've missed out number 6, the personal development. And it's actually one that I feel very strongly about. The personal development is a central goal. And in the report, it goes on to say, it is a central goal, not a frill. And I rather like that. Actually, my husband says to me when I'm going off anywhere, is it work or is it a frill? And I say, nothing in my life's frill. Some things are more pleasant than others. But the expression there, a central goal, not a frill. The pessimist tutor in OLAS will probably say, well, we've now got a core curriculum of 80% core employability at its heart. And we've got 20%, which comes under the heading of personal development. And my 80% is what matters, because that is what we're judged on for accreditation purposes. And those of you who have to manage the OLAS contracts will know we only get 5% of our costs if we deliver 62% accreditation success on 80% of our core curriculum. I hope you've got that, because it's important to us. And so the 80% is core and critical, and the 20% must not be minimised. It is not a frill. In fact, a lot of that personal development can actually be core. And I relate to that because it is the self-esteem, it is the softer skills, it is the employability skills that employers are looking for. It's no good just having a qualification if you haven't got the personality, the characteristics, the skills to use that qualification effectively in employment. And Tom's mentioned the Family Man Initiative. There are a lot of initiatives around today that support that personal development. And as an OLAS provider, we should support those to make sure that they're not frill, that they are core to the OLAS work. And I know there are some here today, East Theatre, Music in Prisons, Dance United, Prison Radio, Family Man. There are, toe by toe, a lot of charitable organisations who work with us in OLAS to make sure that the personal development side isn't missed. So I've gone back to number 6. Staff as lifelong learning role models. Pessimists would say that we all work in silos in prisons. I've got my job, you've got your job, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a prison officer, I don't lock up, I don't teach. We can't continue to work in silos, and we've moved a long, long way from that. We've supported the work of, call it the secure learning prison, whether it be young offenders is called a secure learning centre, not even the word prison, which embraces the holistic, where everybody in that prison is geared towards learning. I think we can have more initiatives where we are linking education staff, healthcare staff, prison officer staff, and our students. I remember running a scheme called Link Up at Liverpool Prison, where we had groups of peer mentors, and they included prison officers, education staff, and our offender learners. And that worked extremely well in breaking down barriers and seeing each other as people, not as titles. So I think we must use staff as lifelong learning role models, and we've a lot of opportunity to do that. Prisoners and ex-prisoners used for teaching and mentoring inside and outside prison. That is a very strong recommendation, and it's been proven to work and work well. But you can imagine security departments in prison, oh no, criminal record, not coming in my prison. That applies to criminal records whether it's been served in custody or not. But why not? They are the most experienced people. They have been there, lived it and done it. And I think it's just a case, and I think it is happening much, much more frequently, that we are using people with experience both inside and outside. All we've got to do is monitor it properly. And number 10, which you've referred to very well, Tom, raising the profile, more public discussion. Yes, we've all suffered from the Daily Mail headlines. I think mine was at Hindley Prison. Young people enjoy circus treat. And it hit the headlines because we'd taken a circus skills course into the young offenders, which was one of the best courses I've seen, very much like Safe Ground, where the youngsters, 16 to 18-year-olds with abundant energy, had spent a week learning circus skills with embedded learning in anything you could think of, from numeracy, literacy, ICT, PE, problem solving, working with others. They could have been accredited for all sorts, and they worked extremely hard. But public opinion prefers a juicy headline than the real one. We had to beg people to come to Askham Grange when we got a grade 1, first grade 1 in Ofsted for offender learning. We had to say, come and see what we're doing. But I assure you, if somebody had run away from Askham Grange, they'd have been there pretty quickly. But we are raising the profile. And I know I'm talking to the converted today, because you're the ones who believe in it and are spreading it. But I think we can work quite well. Politically, it isn't exactly a sexy subject, is it? You know, the society likes to think we lock them up, we put them behind the wall, and we can forget them. But as Tom said, once you do start to have meaningful discussions with people who can see the benefits and work forward, then I think we can start to get that discussion on a much, much better footing. I'll finish with a few quotations. The future does depend on what we do in the present. And what I want to see at the end of this, I want to see some positive action, back to John's quote at the beginning. We don't want all this excellent research that has proven what works and what doesn't, what costs and what doesn't, to go to that negligible action that I hope eventually proves that it's wrong. And then, I think this has become my trademark, but I do want to share it with you. Those who've seen it before, forgive me, but I do love my donkeys. Because I believe this can relate to nearly anything in life. A lot of people have the same goals in life, and this can relate to your marriage, your family, your professional life, your boss, anywhere. But I do believe we've all got the same goal in this room, to reduce reoffending. But there are a lot of us in it all pulling different ways.